Hey y'all, happy Friday. We'll tie up Bathsheba today, and then on Monday, the day after Christmas, we will dig into Mary. Um, Bathsheba found herself, I think, in a very unfortunate circumstance. We're not told a lot of details, but the woman was taking a bath and got spotted by the king, who, by the way, was not supposed to be there. If you read, we are told, where's that? We are told this in chapter 11, verse 1. It says, "In the spring, when the kings go forth to battle." So we already know in the very first verse that David was out of place and he was not where he should have been. Where, Nathan has that conversation with David later in verse 12, that I have anointed you king of Israel. So the king doesn't sit back. The king goes forward and goes to battle for his people. So we know that David was out of place. And it says that David sent Joab with his servants and all of Israel. And they did well. They ravaged the Ammonites and besieged Rabbah. But it says David remained in Jerusalem. And so, um, talk about the importance of being at the right place at the right time, or when we put ourselves in a different place, the temptations that opens us up to. That's probably a whole nother subject for another day. But David was out of place. He was not where he was supposed to be. Again, he's the king of Israel. So when his servants knock on Bathsheba's door and say, "The king summons you," there's not much. You don't have room to argue. You don't refuse. So Bathsheba goes, and the repercussions are literally generational, because Nathan says in 2 Samuel verse 12:10, "Now therefore the sword shall never depart from your house, because you have not only despised my command, but you have despised me and taken the wife of another. You've taken the wife of Uriah the Hittite to be your wife. Thus says the Lord, I will raise up evil against you out of your own house, and I'll take your wives from before your eyes and give them to your neighbors, and he'll lie with your wives in the sight of the sun. For you did it secretly, but I will do this thing before all Israel and before the sun." And David said to Nathan, "I have sinned against the Lord." And Nathan said to David, "The Lord also has put away your sin, and you shall not die. Nevertheless, because by this deed you have utterly scorned the Lord and given great occasion to the enemies of the Lord to blaspheme, the child that is born to you shall surely die." And of course, if you go on to read a few chapters later, the child that Bathsheba bore does not live. He passes. But then in verse 24, so 2 Samuel 12:24, David comforted Bathsheba his wife, and he went to her and lay with her, and she bore a son and called his name Solomon. And the Lord loved the child. He sent a message by the hand of Nathan the prophet, and Nathan called the boy's special name Jedediah, beloved of the Lord, because the Lord loved the child. And don't you love, again, the redemptive work of God, that he did tell David, "I've put your sin aside. You're not going to die." And then the next child gives a special name, beloved of the Lord. And of course, this child, Solomon, was the one to become king after David. we're not, Bathsheba seems to be more of a passive character in this account. Yet a woman who was taken from home, you know, did not have a choice in the matter and suffered dearly the consequences of the decisions and actions of both hers and those of David. And yet she is still recorded or listed in the genealogy of Jesus. And so we will pick up here next week and dig into Mary. Bye, y'all.